Welcome to the Geek and I podcast, on the Geek News Now network, sponsored by Sumner Twins Talent. Find them online at Sumner Twins at facebook.com/Sumner Twins. This week, we talk collecting, fandom, and turning that fandom into reality. This week's guest is Jeff Dickinson. Jeff is a collector of Star Wars merchandise. We'll talk about what inspired him as a kid to get him into collecting, what merchandise he has, and we'll see his collection. And we'll see also, we'll talk to Jeff Dickinson, the writer, producer, and director, about his upcoming projects and how he turned his love of collecting into a career. This is the Geek and I podcast. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Welcome. Hey, man. How's it going, brother?
It's going great. Thanks for joining me on the show this week.
No problem. Glad to be here.
So, give me a little bit of history on your collecting, and what I'd like to do is kind of go from where you were as a kid, and then kind of weave a path to where you are today and how that kind of inspired you into doing what you are currently doing.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, who knows what really starts a person off as a collector or inspires them the most. But for me, it began with a little movie called Star Wars. I mean, I was a Star Trek fan, watching the shows. Grew up in the 70s. This is my childhood. And, my mom took us kids and my dad to see this movie, Star Wars, and it blew me away. I mean, I love to read. I was writing my own little short stories and poems and stuff like that. After that movie, I went home and was thinking about what happened next. And that crawl got me. Rogue One came out eventually, which it's a really cool flick. But that, as a kid, I read that and told my brother, hey, what's that battle? I mean, how did he do that? He's like, shh, we're still watching the movie. I'm like, I don't know, I'm reading. That's how much I got in touch. And then when the ship, the Darth Vader's, I forgot what it's called, the
Star Destroyer.
Star Destroyer, thank you. After that flyover, I knew I was in for a treat.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's seminal moment of Star Wars is that opening fanfare, and then coming down on Tatooine, and then those two ships flying over. I think that might have flipped a switch in a lot of people who probably would not be doing what they're doing today if it wasn't for that movie. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, my friends growing up, we were inspired by people. When you look up to your adults, your parents and family and stuff, and we were looking at Evel Knievel. I mean, people who got us, pumped about things. But when it came to movies, we didn't really talk much about movies. But when Star Wars hit, I mean, Planet of the Apes was really big. But when Star Wars hit, man, that's all we talked about on the playground and stuff. And for, like I said, I have a friend of mine that had a little camcorder from his dad he would borrow. They were making backyard films. They were trying to get the little figures and do stop motion, little action scenes with them. So, yeah, I mean, that kid that picked up the camera and did a little background, backyard movies, eventually, grew up to wanting to do films. And, wasn't for my friend and his little camera, me playing around with him, and me as a writer thinking, okay, well, here's the scene, we wouldn't be where we're at wasn't for literally George Lucas' salute you, brother. Man, that dude's his mind is something.
Well, I think as a kid we've all made our own Star Wars movies tenfold. You know, taking the figures and going out in the backyard and you know, this is the continuing adventure of Luke and Leia and Darth Vader. And you know, I remember growing up, you know, taking my Darth Vader and putting him on the clothesline and sending him out on the clothesline, and you know, he's using the Force to cross the chasm. You know,
I never thought about that. That was excellent. I know that.
I don't want to see that in episode 10, but
I know that. Well, we're all. And I grew up poor, so I was lucky to see a figure. We all had allowances. We had to do chores to get our money. And the first figure I got was Darth Vader. My brother got he got R2-D2, and my sister got Princess Leia. And so we're all playing in the backyard, and we're like, then you know what? How do we do a scene with those three characters alone? Because you know, R2-D2 with Princess Leia, I could deal with, but then Darth Vader's the bad guy, and I was like, okay. And eventually we grew up to get the land speeder. So all of us in the neighborhood, one guy got Millennium Falcon because you know he had more money. I got the land speeder. A friend of mine got the TIE Fighter, and that's how our adventures continued through those toys. George Lucas was a mastermind, especially when it came to stuff like that.
now your collection, does it include figures, or are you more of hardcover, you know, stuff, you know, where you can, you know, read through like books and making of novels and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm across the board for everything. I collect the figures. I had my original figures. I had, was making room for new stuff, so I sold some of my original, figures. But then, of course, what started for me though, the very beginning of my collecting, my mom, when she took me and my family, of course, to see Star Wars for the first time, they sold movie programs. Now, I already spent my allowance because we were going on the weekend, and I told my mom, look, I would like to get that. You keep my allowance forever until it's paid off. I want to get this program. I mean, something spoke to me because behind the counter next to all the, where you get the cups and popcorn containers. And so my mom went ahead and she said, okay, and got me this. Let me see if you guys can see it. Oh, there you go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. If you make my side of the screen bigger, I could probably do better. All right. So this is the front and back of it. And what she did was, I found out later, got me two. One for me to share with my brother and sister. And one, let's see how we could do this. One for, that is really cool, huh?
That is beautiful. And that's original from 1977.
Yes, sir. No, I can't see. But basically, so I didn't know that a second one existed until my mom gave it to me for my, I think it was 16th or 17th birthday. She said, "Hey, you're a little more responsible." Oh, that's fair. And what's cool about this program? It showed you a little bit about Star Wars. You're able to read a little bit about the characters. There's Ben Kenobi. It gives you a little backstory, so you kind of, when you start following the adventure, and it gives you some key scenes of the movie. More characters, Darth Vader.
Yeah, that looks very familiar. I think I might have had one of those, and
they re-reprinted them. I think it was in the 90s, but it's a reprint. You could tell the difference.
Right. Now, what else? What else do you are a collector of other than programs and books and stuff?
Film sales. One of my friends just went on when the 40th anniversary of Empire was happening. And we started talking about our collections, like, what's the best thing you have? I'm like, going, dude, tell you what, I had these film sales I used to collect, and I, lost my ones I purchased, and I started going after them again. Because you own a little piece of Star Wars. And I did a video on YouTube, just posted a day or so ago, because I had some of my friends going, let me see what's your collection. I've been describing it. So I did a little YouTube video, and you can see all 28 film sales. And that's one of the best. That's the one that's really important to me the most, because it's a little piece of Star Wars.
Right.
The original film sale. I mean, I was lucky enough to get what I have, and and when you watch the video, there's some really iconic scenes there.
Yeah, and we'll put that link in the description, so if anybody wants to go to your channel and see that playlist, they could. Okay.
Right. And there's 28 sales, not 26. I screwed up in the talking about, you know how you get when you start doing stuff. But yeah. Another thing I want to show you, though, before you get too far in it. This is another thing. This is the the most important thing was the program, then the film sales, but then this. It came out 2014. It's the storyboards. For the very first time, you're able to see them. See if you can see all that. But it's cool. It's got storyboards for Empire, Jedi, and some storyboards are in color. And the majority of them are in black and white. But it's a really thick book. And I suggest if you're a fan, I paid $40 for it. Probably, I don't know if it's cheaper now or if it's still in print or not, but it's been 6 years. But I'm pretty sure you can Google it and find it on Amazon or something like that.
Right. So where you say your mom took you and your brothers to see Star Wars. Do you remember that day? Do you remember like when it was?
Like it was yesterday. So for some reason that day, the kids at school who saw it prior to me was not spoiling the story, but they got your interest enough because they couldn't really remember everything because so much went on. As a child, I was 11 years old, so as a kid, your mind goes crazy, especially when you have sugar. But anyway, got to the movie theater. Me and my brother, my sister were all in the back seat talking. Man, this is going to be great. My sister didn't care because she doesn't like space movies. But I tell you what, after that film, she did. She dressed up her daughter as an Ewok when she was about 6 or 7 years old for Halloween. But yeah, that day was so important because we were excited to wait in line. There was a line, not as bad as they are, when Empire came out. But yeah, there was a line to see it. I remember waiting and hearing people, the chatter, the crowds, because I don't know about you, but when I'm in the crowd, I like to listen to the conversations around me. That makes for the most unique story sometimes and kills time when you're kind of, what was that guy doing? But getting up to the popcorn stand, smelling that popcorn. I always get my root beer and popcorn. That's a thing that my mom did with me when we saw our first movie together. And that was Snoopy Come Home. Boy, I'm aging myself. But, once we got in the seats, my mom brought the program. I didn't know about the program until we all were sitting down. And my mom told my dad, don't give any kids popcorn yet. I want to show them this. My mom cracked out that program. And I looked at it, and I wanted to give it to my sister first so she could check it out. And then my brother saw it, and then the movie was about ready to start. And I started looking at it, and as the beginning started, I was realizing there's backstories. And I was the light was pretty good where you could still read it. And I got kind of just put it away, gave it back to my mom so I could enjoy it. And walking out, dude, I tell you what, my dad fell asleep. My mom enjoyed it. Me, my brother and sister was just blown away.
Now, did you see it in May? Was it
Yes,
how long did
it was released? I believe middle of May, if I remember right. Because I remember still being in school, and it was released probably about the second week it was running is when we saw it, and like I said, that's the line started picking up, on the second week of it, And I can imagine how it was after that. But we saw it once only, and the next time I saw Star Wars was on VHS.
Yeah, because I remember I didn't see it until my my birthday in August. So I went through the rest of May, June, and July.
Oh, you were tortured as a kid.
Well, I didn't really know anything about it. It's
Oh, really?
there wasn't internet. There wasn't. I was 8 years old or 7 at the time, and there really was nowhere to find out any of this information. It's like you see it in the newspaper, but it wasn't 24-hour news cycle. There wasn't, trailers everywhere and everybody talking about it. So, it was just one of those things that, I would see the commercial on TV and I would, say, oh, let's go see that for my birthday. Cause that's one of the things that we used to do as growing up was, I could either have, a couple of presents or I can have a bunch of friends over and then we'd go to a movie after. So I always chose, let's go to the movies after.
Nice.
And that was one where I remember my dad driving us in our 75 Nova and him saying, well, kids, I'm sorry, Star Wars is sold out. So we're going to see the Porky Pig movie. And
man.
my brother and I cried in the back seat all the way to the theater until we got tickets for Star Wars. So
that reminds me.
I remember that vividly.
Oh man, you just triggered off a memory I forgot about for the longest time. My dad loved country music, and what came out the same time Star Wars did, and because my dad and mom had an agreement, my dad was able to go see a movie of his choice. Smokey and the Bandit. So that summer, I was able to see two films.
Those are my two favorites.
Yeah. But that was crazy, like you said. My mom always would love the movies,
and I think Smokey and the Bandit is either. Yes, I think Smokey and the Bandit is either second or third behind Star Wars for the year box office gross. So that's how good that did.
I think it was top 5.
Yeah. So
I think 5 or 10 they do on the TV.
Right. So you're collecting. I'm assuming that kept on going through the years.
Yes.
And inspiring you to start more writing, and it just like blossomed from there.
Well, when you have visual aids as a child with the dolls and your imagination's going, I swear to God, I never grew up. I'm the same guy as a child that I am as an adult. I met up with some childhood friends of mine when we had this little meet and greet. I went to San Antonio for the first time in a very long time. I got all the time. You never change. Your personality is the same because your imagination stays strong and your love for the passion, of wanting to do something different than what you're seeing currently. Because I don't know about you, but when I read a book, my mind goes off in that scene, and I'm already visualizing, thinking about, well, if the character did this instead of that, and it just that's the reason why when I collect books, I got those choose your own adventure books. I used to read them as a kid. And I love the idea you're in control of your adventure. And that's something that I thought about. Hey, it would be cool to write that. But man, my hat's off to those people who do those multi-stories on video games and books, like those choose your own adventures, because that takes some work and the diligence of trying to reconnect your dots with your characters. Because for me, I'm pretty cool with the lateral character lineup and their backstory and all that. But to do multiple levels of a scene, that's crazy. And I wish I could do it. But like I said, my collection helped.
You mentioned choose your own adventure books. Did you enjoy those more than a regular standalone novel?
Yes, the whole point when a friend of mine said, "Hey, I see you reading Sherlock Holmes, and I love Poe," and I had a book of all of his works I used to read, and the fantasy side was the Lord of the Rings. J.R.R. Tolkien had his little box set of 3 books with a map and all that. Got that, and it really, when my friends knew I loved fantasy and I loved storytelling, they said, "Hey, have you seen this Choose Your Own Adventures?" I'm like, "No." And you had stories of knights, and you had stories of, there was different like murder mysteries, and you name the genre, they made a Choose Your Own Adventure out of it. And that's one thing that really caught my attention, especially as a young child going into his teen years, because I was developing my writing a little bit more. And that kind of helped me get an idea of how deep of your character do you want to take it. So, yeah.
Right. So let's talk about your writing. What are you currently working on now? What do you have in the pipeline for us in the future?
Got you. Well, as everyone knows, The Raven at Rue Morgue was a story that originally titled The Ring of Death. And it had a little feel of Hitchcock and Rod Sterling, because Twilight Zone influenced me as a child as well. Alfred Hitchcock influenced me as well as a child. I never got to see Psycho until I got as an adult, but I did enjoy the other stuff he did. And I always, watching those movies inspired me to do this little story. And over time, it just morphed into The Raven at Rue Morgue. I love Poe. I had the idea of what's the two best things I ever enjoyed about Poe. Well, one was The Raven. The other one was Murders at the Rue Morgue. And those two influenced me so much that I knew I had to do my own story with the essence of Poe. And going forth from there, it just built into this beautiful, poetic horror story. And but after that, of course, I have Harvest Moon we're working on right now. That's by my friends, Chris Emeritus Majors. They were the folks who gave you Lake Erie, and I had a little hand in that. With that, you could go to any streaming service, my YouTube channel, Raven Remorque, or Jeff Dickinson YouTube channel. You'll see the trailer for the Lake Erie, and that's the next project I'm working on currently. And of course, after that, who knows what the future holds?
Right. Well, we do have a trailer for The Raven at Rue Morgue. So let's give that a little look see. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
In the beginning, there were no names. Demons don't have names. Those who fear them made up names for them. Many cultures have a creation story on how demons entered the world. They often start in the same way. The demons you have to fear the most are the ones that live within your soul. They enter our world from hell to feed on pure suffering. Without those feedings, those demons will die. But as long as they are feeding, their existence will last for eternity. The Raven at Rue Morgue.
Right on, man.
That's still very neat. Very neat.
Go ahead.
When can we look forward to that?
Well, that's the $1,000 question here tonight. I would love to be out there getting ready to shoot tomorrow if things would have gone the way I like it to go. But it's still in the pipeline. That's why we're working on Harvest Moon right now, because we're trying to get things settled with the Raven. But it's still going through, brother, and looking forward to putting it out there in the world. I know I've been working on it for such a long time to start a story back in '95 and to actually have it to a point where we're at today where, there's always little hurdles. And most people say, don't look at them as failures. I was like, we need failures. This is not a failure. It's not a hurdle. It's a life experience. It's preparing me for the future. God has his own plan. And if he wanted me to do it tomorrow, I've already been in the works, and it's a learning progress. It's learning in progress. And so I just appreciate my cast and crew who stuck it out with me and still hanging in there. So yeah, I got a beautiful team.
Now, do we have a cast listing for Rue Morgue or Harvest Moon yet?
Yes. If you go to the Facebook page, Harvest Moon movie, I think it's titled. It has some information there, as well as the IMDb. Harvest Moon, there is a promotional trailer we did. Talk a little bit about the film when we were doing the fundraising for the makeup team and special effects and all of that a couple of years back. And that's out there on my YouTube channel for the Raven at Rue Morgue, as well as the Jeff Dickinson YouTube channel. The Jeff Dickinson YouTube channel, to clarify for everybody, is going to be my work and, that I'm doing currently, be it, Raven and Lake Erie and Harvest Moon and wherever I'm involved in, that's the channel I'll be posting on. The Raven at Rue Morgue YouTube channel is basically about the Raven at Rue Morgue, and it morphed into my personal life of collecting and my passions of video games and music and everything. So, that became just a little bit about me and a little bit about the Raven. And, I guess my brain shares the Raven's, timeline with my own lifetime. And so that kind of is poetic in its own sense. But yeah, that's where you could go for majority of stuff. And also the Facebook page for the Raven as well. It's got the music on there that we're working on. It's got my quotes that was, the Annabelle quotes I have for the movie, and a little bit background about the characters. If you scroll down all the way to the bottom of the Facebook page where I first started it and you go up, I even go share some Poe's poems that inspired me for my characters. We got Jacqueline, who is going to be Annabelle, Jacqueline Holland. We got Rebecca O'Neilachek. She's playing Lenore Rue. We have Ashley Turner playing Eleanor Rue. And we got G. Larry Butler, who is going to be our caretaker. There is a mystery actor that I will be exposing later on who's going to be playing the caretaker's wife. I'm really happy that she's willing to do it. We just got to wait for the right time to come up to make the announcement. And of course, I have Monica Solis, who's my composer. If it wasn't for her, the music wouldn't be as hellacious as it is. I'm very proud of it. Dark and Faded and Another Fallen Angel were two of the songs that's for the movie. Now, keep in mind, the music in the movie is going to be symphonic and rockish. It's not going to be like a rock opera. There's no singing involved, but the music flow of it's going to be classical music. You'll recognize that, and also the rock pieces and stuff. My friend Patrick Kinnison, who's from Heaven Below, had allowed me to use one of his songs, The Takeover, and that's on the channel as well, the page, for the Raven at Rue Morgue. So a lot of my friends are helping out. There's a guy in France I've been dealing with who's doing the artwork for the album cover. And guess what album covers he used to work on? Iron Maiden, one of my favorite bands. Remember those album covers from Iron Maiden? They were so iconic. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of support and help from my friends who was pulling together to help me make this happen.
Okay, that sounds great. Look forward to it. And that hopefully when this whole pandemic dies down, we can see you start working on these features.
Yeah, that sure has put a little bump in the road for a lot of people. A lot of my friends who are professional actors are just, are hurting as bad. Everything's frozen right now. You can't, movie theaters are opening, but a lot of the movie studios pulled their, films from there because they weren't sure how it's going to work out now. So yeah, the industry is hurting really bad. So go out there, support your fellow actors, directors, producers, writers, anybody who's been in the industry.
Oh, I guess we lost Jeff there. Let's see if he can come back on.
I'm here.
Oh yeah, there. I lost you for a second.
I was talking to you, and I can still see you, and I hear you talking.
Been getting very choppy the last few minutes.
Oh, which last thing?
Yeah, that's. I don't know. You might have been choppy.
What was the last thing you heard?
So, it looks like we're having some internet issues. So,
okay. Well, quick shout out to Angela Joseph with Sumner Twins for making this happen. I like to thank you for that.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us, Jeff. We'll try and catch up to you next time the if the filming starts, and maybe we go behind the scenes, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'd love to do that with you.
But I want to thank you for tuning in to the Geek and I podcast, part of the Geek News Now network, brought to you by Sumner Twins Talent. Find them online at facebook.com/Sumner Twins. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Geek and I podcast.